The night my husband told me his son needed his real mom, something inside me quietly died. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He just said it casually, like he was commenting on the weather. Ethan's been asking questions. He told me, staring at his phone instead of at me. He needs his real mom around. It's confusing for him. I stood there in the kitchen I had redesigned. In the house I helped pay for. After 6 years of packing lunches, attending school meetings, sitting through fevers, nightmares, soccer games, and teenage mood swings. Real mom. That word echoed in my chest. I wasn't Ethan's biological mother. His mom had left when he was 3. I came into his life when he was 7, scared, quiet, angry at the world. I never tried to replace anyone. I just showed up, every single day. But suddenly, I was confusing. His biological mother had recently reappeared, posting filtered selfies with captions about second chances. She wanted to reconnect. And instead of setting boundaries, my husband folded like paper. I just think, he continued carefully, maybe you should step back. Let them rebuild. For Ethan, step back. For my own home. I didn't argue. That's what shocked him the most. I simply nodded. Okay, I said. He looked relieved. That hurt more than anything. I didn't cry in front of him. I didn't beg. I didn't defend myself. That night, while he slept peacefully, I booked a one-way ticket to Europe. I had always dreamed of living abroad. Before marriage. Before becoming a stepmother. Before shrinking myself to fit into someone else's unfinished family. I had savings. My own money. Freelance design clients I'd kept quietly building for years. By morning, my plan was already in motion. When I told him I was leaving for a while, he thought it was a dramatic bluff. You're overreacting, he said. It's just temporary? No, I replied softly. I am. He didn't understand that I wasn't running away. I was choosing myself. 2 weeks later, I was in Lisbon. A small apartment with tall windows and sunlight pouring through white curtains. The air smelled like ocean and fresh bread. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt peaceful. I didn't post anything at first. I just lived. Morning walks, new friends, late night wine on rooftops. My freelance work exploded. Without household responsibilities draining me, I took on bigger clients. Within 3 months, I was earning more than I ever had back home. Then I posted a photo. Nothing flashy. Just me smiling, genuinely smiling, with the Atlantic behind me. The comments flooded in. You look different. You look happy. My husband texted that night. Wow, Europe suits you. I kept it polite. Thank you, hope everything's good. He didn't reply for hours. Then, it's been harder than I expected. I knew what that meant. His ex wasn't stepping up the way she promised. She liked the idea of motherhood more than the responsibility. Ethan had started acting out again. Skipping homework, talking back, withdrawing. He had lost stability, and I had been that stability. Weeks passed. His messages became longer. I didn't realize how much you handled. I miss you. Ethan asks about you sometimes. That one hit me. I stared at my phone for a long time before responding. I hope he's okay. Another month passed, then the call came. It was Tua. In Lisbon. I almost didn't answer. But I did. He was crying. Not the dramatic kind, the exhausted, broken kind. I messed up, he said between breaths. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought giving them space would fix everything. But she barely shows up. Ethan's failing 2 classes. He doesn't talk to me anymore. He keeps saying you left because you didn't love him. That pierced through me. I never stopped loving him, I said quietly. I know that now, he whispered. I see it now. You were his real parent. I was too blind to admit it. For a moment, the old version of me wanted to comfort him. To book a return ticket. But something inside me had grown stronger. You told me to step back. I reminded him gently. So I did. Silence. I need you, he said. Not the needs you. I need you. That was the truth. He had relied on me emotionally, financially, structurally, and only noticed when I was gone. I've built a life here, I told him. One where I'm not an optional extra. He started crying harder. I was wrong. I chose the wrong definition of real. Maybe he finally understood that motherhood isn't biology. It's presence. I hope you figure things out, I said. For Ethan. He deserves stability. Are you coming back? He asked, voice small. I looked around my apartment, my home. The city lights outside. The version of myself I had rediscovered. No, I answered calmly. It wasn't said in anger. It wasn't revenge screamed through clenched teeth. It was peaceful. And that was the most powerful part. Months later, I heard through mutual friends that his ex disappeared again. that he enrolled Ethan in therapy, that he finally started showing up the way he should have all along. As for me, I signed a longer lease. I expanded my business. I built friendships that felt mutual, not transactional. And sometimes, on quiet evenings by the ocean, I think about that night in the kitchen, when he said his son needed his real mom. He was right. He did. He just didn't realize she had already been standing in front of him the whole time. And by the time he figured it out, she was gone. The night my husband told me his son needed his real mom, something inside me quietly died. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult me. He just erased me. Ethan's confused. He said, arms crossed like a judge delivering a fair verdict. He needs his real mother back in his life. We have to respect that. Respect that. 6 years of bedtime stories. 6 years of parent-teacher meetings he couldn't attend because of important calls. 6 years of holding Ethan while he cried about being abandoned. And now I was the one who needed to step aside. I remember staring at the fridge, covered in Ethan's drawings. One of them said, "Best mom ever." He'd written it when he was 10. I had kept it. But apparently, I wasn't real. His biological mother had resurfaced 2 months earlier. She cried about mistakes, promised change, posted online about healing journeys, and my husband, desperate to believe in something simple, decided blood mattered more than effort. Just for a while, he added. Until things settle. Translation: make yourself smaller. Again. That night I didn't argue. I didn't defend my love. I simply went upstairs, opened my laptop, and searched flights. Lisbon one way. I had savings he knew nothing about. Not secret, just mine. Freelance income I'd built quietly at night after everyone slept. I had options. I just never used them. Until that moment. When I told him I was leaving, he blinked at me like I'd spoken another language. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said calmly. "I'm being replaced." He rolled his eyes. "That's not what this is," but it was. 2 weeks later, I walked through a small European apartment with sunlight pouring across tiled floors. No tension. No emotional landmines, just space. The first few days I cried. Not because I missed him. Because I finally understood how little space I had been allowed to take up. Then something shifted. I woke up early. Walked by the water. Answered emails from clients who respected my work. My income doubled within months because I had time. Real, uninterrupted time. I started posting small glimpses of my life. Nothing extravagant. Coffee by the ocean. A new project launch. A photo of me laughing with people who didn't see me as temporary. That's when his messages began. "At least tell Ethan goodbye properly. You told me to step back." She's struggling. "You said he needed someone else." "Is she?" Weeks passed. The messages became heavier. "I didn't realize how much you did." That one made me smile, because that was the point. He had never seen the invisible labor, the scheduling, the emotional buffering, the quiet sacrifices. When I removed myself, the structure collapsed. One night, my phone rang. I almost ignored it. But something told me to answer. He was crying. Not polished tears. Raw panic. "She quit," he said. "Of course she did. She says it's too much. That Ethan is angry all the time. He barely talks. He told his therapist he feels abandoned again." Abandoned again. That word wrapped around my throat. "He thinks you left because you didn't want him," my husband whispered. I closed my eyes. "You told me I wasn't his real mom." I replied quietly. "I was wrong," he choked. I was so wrong. For a moment, silence filled the ocean between us. "I can't do this without you," he said. And there it was again. Not "we can't, I can't." The truth finally surfaced. He hadn't wanted Ethan's real mom. He wanted the comfort of biology without the responsibility of fatherhood. He wanted me to carry the emotional weight while he played neutral mediator. And when he removed me, he had to actually parent. "How is Ethan?" I asked. "He asks about you every night." That broke me a little. "But pain doesn't cancel clarity." "I love him," I said. "That never changed." "Then come back." The old version of me would have packed immediately. Would have returned to prove love. But Europe had given me something unexpected. Perspective. "I built a life here," I told him. "One where I'm not temporary. One where I'm valued." "We value you." "No, you relied on me. There's a difference." "I hope you learn to show up for him," I continued. "Not delegate it." He was silent for a long time. "I didn't realize stepping back meant losing you." "You didn't think I'd choose myself," I corrected gently. More silence. "Are you happy?" he asked finally. I looked around my apartment. My laptop opened to contracts worth more than his yearly bonus. A calendar filled with projects I chose. A version of myself that felt steady. "Yes," I said honestly. He inhaled sharply, like that answer hurt more than rejection. Because it meant I didn't need him. Months passed. Through mutual friends, I heard pieces of the aftermath. His ex disappeared again. Ethan's therapy continued. My husband cut back on work hours. He started attending school meetings, cooking dinner, showing up, not because I came back, because he had no choice. One afternoon, I received a message from Ethan, not from his father, from him. Are you okay? It read, I miss you. I cried reading it. But I didn't rush back. Instead, I wrote him a long letter explaining that adults sometimes make complicated decisions, but love doesn't disappear just because distance exists. We started video calling once a week, with clear boundaries. I wasn't stepping back into a role that required me to disappear again. And something interesting happened. Without me as the buffer, my husband had to rebuild his relationship with his son himself. Slowly, uncomfortably, honestly. That was my revenge. Not yelling. Not destroying. Not proving him wrong in public. I simply removed my presence. And he felt the weight of everything I had carried. The last time he called, his voice was steady. I finally understand what real means, he said. I didn't respond. Because by then, I understood something too. Real love doesn't beg to be recognized. It walks away when it's not. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't making someone regret losing you. It's building a life so full, so steady, so peaceful, that their tears can't pull you back. When my husband looked me in the eye and said, he needs his real mom now, I realized I had been a placeholder in my own marriage. Not a partner, not a parent, a placeholder. The words didn't come out cruel. That's what made them worse. They were calm, logical, reasonable. His mother wants to try again, he explained, pacing slowly like he was solving a business problem. We should support that. It's what's best for Ethan. What's best for Ethan? I had built my entire adult life around that sentence. I met Ethan when he was 7. Skinny arms. Guarded eyes. He didn't trust easily. The first time he held my hand in public, it felt like winning a marathon. I never forced the word, Mom. He chose it, slowly, carefully. But apparently biology had more authority than devotion. His ex came back glowing with apologies and promises, therapy posts, inspirational quotes, claims of growth. And my husband, desperate for the fantasy of a complete family, decided blood-erased absence. She deserves a chance, he said. And just like that, I didn't argue. That's what stunned him. I just nodded and asked, how much space do you need me to give? He hesitated. That depends. That was my answer. That night I opened my laptop and looked at flights. I'd always dreamed of living in Europe. Before marriage. Before PTA meetings and grocery lists. Before I shrank my ambitions so his career could expand. I had savings. Quiet, steady savings from freelance work I did after midnight when the house was finally asleep. By morning I had a one-way ticket. When I told him, he actually laughed. You're not serious. I am? You're leaving over this? No, I said calmly. I'm leaving because you think I'm optional. He didn't chase me to the airport. That hurt more than the words. Lisbon welcomed me with warm air and strangers who didn't know my history. I rented a small apartment with tall windows and zero emotional tension. The first week felt strange. No one needed dinner at 6. No one forgot permission slips. No one compared me to someone else. Then something inside me began to stretch, like a muscle finally allowed to move. I took on bigger design clients. Without household chaos draining me, my work sharpened. Within 4 months, I was earning more than my husband. I didn't post much online. Just glimpses, sunlight on tiled streets, my laptop open at a cafe, a genuine smile I hadn't seen on my own face in years. That's when his messages started. At least talk to Ethan. You could have handled this differently. He's confused? Like I vanished for fun. Then one night my phone rang. I almost ignored it. But I answered. He was crying. Not angry, not defensive, broken. She stopped coming, he said about his ex. Says Ethan is too distant, too angry. Of course he is. He barely talks to me, my husband continued. He told his therapist he feels like everyone leaves. That sentence hit hard. Did you tell him I left because he needed his real mom? I asked quietly. Silence. I thought it would make sense to him. Of course you did. He thinks you left because you didn't love him, he whispered. I swallowed the ache rising in my throat. I loved him every single day, I said. I see that now, he choked. You were the one who stayed. I didn't protect that. No, you sacrificed it. I can't manage this alone, he admitted. And there it was. Not, we're struggling. I'm struggling. He hadn't realized how much invisible work I carried. Emotional regulation, school coordination, conflict mediation. When he removed me, he removed the foundation. I warned you I would step back, I said calmly. I didn't think you meant leave? You didn't think I'd choose myself. The line went quiet. I was wrong? He said finally. I confused biology with commitment. That part almost made me laugh. Because that's what this was really about. He wanted the image of a repaired family. The easy narrative, the neat story where everyone smiles for photos. But parenting isn't aesthetic, it's consistency. And consistency had been me. Come home, he said softly. I looked around my apartment, my calendar filled with contracts, my passport on the table, the version of myself I had rebuilt from scratch. I am home, I replied. He started crying again. I finally understand what real means. Real means staying when it's hard. Real means not disappearing when something shiny returns. Real means valuing the person who shows up daily. But by the time he understood that, I had already stopped needing him to. Months later, I heard updates through mutual friends. He cut his work hours, started attending therapy with Ethan, learned to cook, learned to listen. Not because I rescued him, because I didn't. That was the revenge. I didn't scream, I didn't expose, I didn't compete with his ex. I simply removed my labor, my patience, my quiet sacrifices. And he felt the collapse. One evening, Ethan messaged me directly. Did you leave because of me? My heart cracked reading that. No, I replied. I left because adults make choices. And sometimes those choices hurt. But I never stopped caring about you. We started weekly video calls, with boundaries. I was no longer a substitute parent. I was someone who loved him without erasing herself. And slowly, I watched something powerful happen from a distance. My husband became the father he should have been all along. Because I was no longer there to do it for him. The last time he called, his voice wasn't desperate, it was humbled. I lost you because I didn't recognize your worth, he said. I didn't argue, I didn't comfort, I didn't offer hope. Because the truth is, the moment he told me I wasn't real, he showed me exactly how replaceable he thought I was. So I did the only thing that made sense. I replaced him. With peace, with independence. With a life where I am never a temporary solution to someone else's unfinished story. And the most satisfying part. He finally learned the difference between a real mother and a woman he thought would never walk away.